Hello everyone, I'm Broughy1322 and welcome to another GTA discussion video where I'm going to be talking and doing a bit of an analysis on the Lowriders 2 and 3 update. Obviously, technically these all came with the same update. The Lowriders that we've seen recently, they all came with the same update, but obviously we got 4 cars first of all in the original Custom Classics update, and then we had 3 cars released as a sort of timed release later on. One at a time, one every week. I'll talk a little bit about that as well. But I was already, after basically testing the Sabre Turbo Custom, to do a ranting video, you know, like I normally do with these videos. I normally have something important to say, or you know, problems with the way Rockstar have done something, and as it's come to me just doing the video, I just find myself not caring anymore. You know, that care that I had, that interest that I had in getting anything decent out of the game from a racing perspective, is just gone. It's lost. It's been withered away by the way that Rockstar have pretty much systematically ruined the classes ever since the Sterling GT. So, you know, normally with these analysis videos I go through every single car that we've seen and talk about them in detail, but to me none of them are really that special. None of them are, apart from maybe the Slam Van Custom, which was the only thing to me that felt a little bit unique and special. Apart from the Slam Van Custom, the rest all just seem the same old stuff. You know, we've seen Lowriders before. To me, the Lowriders should be the slower cars. They should be things like the Peyote, the Manana, the Tornado. Those kind of vehicles are what Lowriders are for. I don't really see why we have Lowriders that are things like a Sabre Turbo. To me, that would have been better being more like a race modification or a drag style modification, like what we saw with the Banshee 900R and the Sultan RS. Personally, anyway. And honestly, ever since we got the first Lowriders update, I feel that it's just that the content that they put out is lazy. You know, it's just rehashing old vehicles. Even when we saw, you know, the minivan, for example, the customization that was available on the minivan was pretty much next to nothing. You know, there was a few upgrades to the trunk and the interior, but apart from that, there was no bumper modifications, nothing like on the level of what we saw with, say, the Banshee 900R or the Sultan RS, or even previous Lowriders. And the same goes for the Sabre Turbo Custom as well. The vast majority of the modifications available for that are just the same modifications that you can have for the regular Sabre Turbo. So you're pretty much paying for some hydraulics, some modifications to the interior, and different liveries. And I don't know, it just, ever since we got Lowriders, it just feels lazy. Just using vehicles that are already in the game and making different variations of them. Obviously, we've had the Lowriders, which were pretty much all, apart from the Moonbeam, I would say, different vehicles. Vehicles that we'd already seen in the game, just given a different skin. We even had the Faction, that was a new vehicle, but obviously taken from GTA 4. We had the Faction that was then brought into the game as the Faction Custom, and then we had a rehash of the rehash with the Faction Custom Donk as well. So I don't know, it's just the same goes for the Executives DLC as well. You know, that was the one that really got me on this, is that we had the Baller, and then we got 4 different versions of the Baller. We had the Shafter, and then we got 4 different versions of the Shafter. And the Cognoscenti was brought in, but again, that was just from the GTA 4 essentially, and then the 5.5 was just a shorter wheelbase version of the Cognoscenti. And yeah, just lately I've lost that excitement, I've lost that interest. I mean, when I think back to the old days of the vehicles that we used to get and waiting for a new DLC, and all of the vehicles were fresh and brand new, the Ill-Gotten Gains updates were really good in that respect, apart from obviously the Sterling GT ruining the Sports Classics class. The vehicles themselves were really interesting, and all of the DLCs before that point were really interesting. But now, to me, I see it as content that is a bit lazy, and to me it feels like the vast majority of the people who created all those DLCs and created all these new vehicles and all the new stuff that we used to see for GTA, that built that excitement that we used to have for the game, I feel like they've all maybe moved on to the next game or the next installment, or whatever, whether it's a Red Dead Redemption game or the next GTA, whatever. Rockstar's a big company, they've probably got a lot going on, but I feel like the main team at this point aren't really focusing on GTA 5 and GTA Online anymore, so we're left with sort of maybe a smaller team of developers just rehashing old vehicles and giving us content that, to me, it just lacks any kind of excitement or interest, in my personal opinion. And then when we do get some special cars, like brand new cars like the Mamba and the Velieli that I still can't say, and new cars like that, they kind of get lost in the huge plethora of other vehicles that are just rehashes of the same vehicles that we've already got. So yeah, and then it comes to the racing aspect, and these new vehicles ruin classes, and the racing for these classes is completely destroyed because of these brand new vehicles being introduced. And to me, I just think, what's the point? Why do I even care? And to be honest, at this point, I just don't care anymore. I'm still, obviously, when they release new vehicles, I'm obviously going to always test them, always let people know how quick they are. But when it comes to, petitioning Rockstar to get things done or try to fix the classes, we've tried it before, it's never going to happen. They don't take our suggestions into account. They bring out, and in fact they do the opposite by bringing out new cars that are even worse than what we've had before. And at this point, obviously the Sabre Turbo Custom completely destroyed the muscle cars class. I don't know whether, I'll talk about the wiggle boost a little bit later on, so I don't know whether it's maybe a bug that it's so quick, and we might see a change in the future, but I'll talk about that later on. But at the moment, it's completely dominant in the muscle cars class, and really the only balanced classes at the moment, I would say, are supers, sports, coupes, compacts, and the motorbikes. They're the only classes where you can use a number of cars and be competitive in a say high quality racing situation, and there aren't just one car that is completely dominant. But even then, in sports and coupes races, the Elegy and the Zion are on a different level to everything else. If you've got a good driver behind the wheel of those cars, the traction that they have makes them completely dominant in a situation where there's someone who knows how to use those vehicles. So even though there are a lot of cars that are reasonably competitive, there are still two vehicles that are OP in the right hands. And when it comes to the compacts, there's only two vehicles really. There's only the Panto and the Rhapsody. Everything else is off the pace. At the moment, the most balanced class, ironically, is the supercars class. And that's because there's say 5 vehicles that you can use, I would say, that are on the pace, and they're only there's 5 vehicles that are separated by 0.7 of a second within my testing, and there's a few vehicles in the supers class that are a little bit off the pace but are still reasonably usable. And the last time that we got a supercar was both of the ill-gotten gains updates, and they brought out the T20 and the Osiris, which were pretty much bang on pace with the Zentorno within sort of 2 or 3 tenths of a second. And that was the last time that we got vehicles that were reasonably well balanced, and they made the supercars class, they have made the supercars class the most balanced class in the game at this point, which is quite interesting because it never really was. And people always complain about the fact that supercar races are used too often, but now to be honest, the supercar races are the only option that we have left if you want a majority of if you want more vehicles to be usable in a racing situation, in a high level racing situation, than just whatever's quickest in that class, because the rest are just completely ruined. They have systematically ruined the classes ever since the Sterling GT, and they've chosen not to fix them using the easy methods that they could have done to fix it. They could have just simply added the Moonbeam to the Vans class and we would have had an option there. instead of it just being the Gang Burrito. They could have removed the spoiler effect from the Sterling GT, and that would have made it balanced with all the other sports classics. The V12 armoured version, the Shafter V12 armoured, not moving it to sports when it clearly should have been there, and not be in the sedans class and be completely dominant there. They've always been easy fixes to the ways that they've ruined it, and they've chosen never to do that. And like I say, they've systematically ruined the classes ever since the Sterling GT. First with the sports classics, then the sedans, now with the muscle cars class as well. I will say that the Sabre Turbo Custom does seem to have a little bit of a problem with bumps, so you do have to be aware of that, but it's still majorly quick in the muscle cars class, and certainly a lot quicker than anything else. As we've seen from the testing videos, it's even quicker in a straight line as well, just under normal circumstances. But it just seems like Rockstar don't care anymore. They just don't care. They're putting out content that is lacking in imagination or originality, I would say, and it's just rehashing old vehicles and just adding some new stuff to them. And even in those cases, like I mentioned with the minivan and the Sabre Turbo Custom, there's not really even that much new to them either. They're just a way to get money, essentially. That's the way that I see it. That's also the reason that we get them one at a time now. We used to get DLCs with 6 or 7 vehicles in one go. Now we get 4 vehicles and then 3 vehicles separated by 1 week at a time, because they know that people will buy shark cards to buy that one vehicle that was the vehicle of the moment that week, and then the next vehicle will come along next week and people will go out and buy more shark cards for that vehicle, and then they create more hype for the week after that, and then people will go out and buy more shark cards for that vehicle. And they know that if they rehash old vehicles like Shafters and Ballers and Cognoscentes into various different variations, people will go and buy shark cards there and go and get those new armoured versions, and they don't have to put in that much effort to create a brand new vehicle. They're just using the same old skins and the same old stuff, change a little bit of line in the game code, and then they're pretty much done. Easy content, and they make money from it, and that seems to be all what it's about now. That excitement of getting DLCs and new content is completely gone for me, because everything that Rockstar does these days just seems like a cash grab, a way to sell more shark cards, put out more content that in an easy way for them. Don't give a shit about the game. They don't care about the game, whether how messed up it gets. To me GTA Online just feels so messy. It seems like a total mess. The car classes is just the start of it. Free roam and all the free roam stuff that you can do in there. There's no order or care or attention given to the game in general. That's just what it feels like, and to me, I just don't have any interest in playing the game at all for fun. I don't get any fun out of it aside from just being on a stream every now and again and having a good race every now and again, or playing some wacky races that have been created by the community. It's not even Rockstar that create the stuff that I find fun on the game. It's the content creator that has allowed that, but it's really ultimately it's other people creating the stuff that I enjoy. So for me, there's just nothing exciting about the game and nothing interesting about the game, and I think the last few updates that we've had have just solidified that in my mind. Any way to get money. The yachts in particular, everybody wanted yachts, but we've not seen anything added to them. We've not seen anything improved on the yachts. We haven't seen any other features or things to do with them. They just put in there, people spend all the money, buy the shark cards, buy the yacht, and then they're forgotten about, and Rockstar don't bother focusing on them anymore because they've already made all their money. And if you look at the things that Rockstar do with DLCs and updates, and you think, what have they done that is part of this update that isn't a way to get money, that is just for the good of the game, or just a way to improve the experience without selling shark cards? If you try to look at it from that way, there's not an awful lot there, to be honest, and everything that they do these days seems to be about selling those shark cards. And I know that's always been a part of it before. It's always been a way that they get more income from the game, and I've said in the past that I think it's a good thing that they have that aspect, and that they have that way to keep income coming into the game because it keeps new content flowing. But I think they've gone too far the other way now, and everything that they do is about those shark cards and about those shark card sales, and everything that they do, the way that they put out the vehicles, the way that the vehicles that they make as well, everything that they do is just about making more money. So yeah, I mean, even the idea of putting in cars with clear issues, you know, it just seems like they just don't care. They have that lack of care and attention. The Banshee 900R, putting it in and then doing a sort of a silly patch to try and fix it, all because, you know, proper testing isn't getting done. They just don't care anymore. Putting in vehicles that clearly seem to be in the wrong class, but they don't care, so they just leave it there. You know, there's just that lack of care and attention is what gets me. And when the developer of the game doesn't seem to care, or isn't seem to be caring, that makes me not care either. And I don't enjoy playing the game anymore. I'm not excited when a DLC drops. I'm just done with it, you know. I'm just done with it because there's nothing there to keep me playing. So that's the way that I'm feeling about it. And I know this is meant to be an analysis of the Lowriders DLC, but it's I think the Lowriders DLC in particular, as well as the Executives DLC, are symptomatic of just the way that the entire game is going these days. And yeah, I just have no time for it, and I'm not interested in supporting or covering a game that's like that. I'm always still going to play it because there are fun things that you can do, and I'm always going to be covering the vehicles. But yeah, you know, what is the point in caring about it? Essentially, have some fun with it, but don't try and care about it, because it's just going to be a useless task to do that anyway. As we've seen previously, things get ruined and they don't care about what we think about it. So yeah, as it comes to the cars, like I said, only really the Slam Van Custom is the only one out of this DLC that I thought was original or interesting in any way. The rest of them I just couldn't really care less about. The Faction Custom Donk as well, I know it's a little bit of fun, but I think it's just stupid, to be honest. And yeah, just not really interested in Lowriders in general, frankly. And the Sabre Turbo Custom, like I said, it just, with it ruining the muscle cars class, it just, I don't know, it just baffles me. And it just shows me that they just don't give a damn anymore. So yeah, coming on to the Sabre Turbo Custom, because that is the hot topic at the minute. This is what I'm going to end the video with and talk a little bit more about this. The Sabre Turbo Custom is the quickest car in the muscle cars class. There's no doubt about that. The reason that it's such an annoyance is because I saw comments about people saying that, you know, most people use the Dominator anyway, so what difference does it make? Well, the difference is that most people use the Dominator because it was the quickest, but that didn't mean that everybody was necessarily quickest in the Dominator. The Dominator was only quickest by a small amount of time, maybe a couple of tenths of a second. There were a lot of other vehicles that were usable. People used the Dominator because it was a fun car to drive. It was difficult to drive. It was difficult to learn. It was difficult to be quick with. And it was rewarding when you were quick with it. But ultimately, there were always different alternatives. You could use the Dukes. You could use the Blade. You could even use some of the slower cars like the Ruiner, like the regular Sabre Turbo. You could still compete with those other muscle cars. If you didn't like the Dominator or you weren't very good with it, all the track conditions favoured it. You know, small, short tracks with a lot of acceleration zones, the Blade would absolutely dominate. So high traction circuits like airport tracks, the Dukes would dominate. There were always different alternatives in the muscle cars class, and that's what made it such an interesting class to race, because all of the alternatives drove completely differently, yet were still on the pace, and it showed exactly what balancing should be about. Yes, you may have one car that might be the quickest in the majority of conditions if you have the right driver behind it, but that the right driver isn't everybody. and not everybody could use the Dominator, and even a lot of people that did use the Dominator, not everybody could get the most out of it, and probably a lot of people who did used to use the Dominator would have been better off with one of the other muscle cars, but they used it because it was the quickest. 80% of a field using a Dominator doesn't necessarily mean that the Dominator is OP. It's just that a lot of people are using the Dominator. When you've got races where you've got sort of the top 5 positions are covered by 5 different vehicles in the muscle cars class, that shows the balance. And having different tracks that suit different cars, that is what I would consider to be balance as well. But now we've got the Sabre Turbo, and the Sabre Turbo Custom is the only vehicle that you can use. It's the only car that you can use in a muscle car race if you want to be quick. It's so much easier to drive than the Dominator. It's incredibly easy to be quick with it. I mean, I set that lap time in the testing video, and you saw I set 2 consecutive lap times that were the same. That was within the first 6 laps of doing the testing. You know, if I wanted to go even quicker, I probably could have done, but I'd already beaten the Dominator's lap time by 2 seconds. I didn't need to bother putting in any more time, and frankly I didn't really care. It had already ruined my spirit by being so much quicker in the first place. It's the only vehicle that you can use now in muscle car races. If you want to be at the top of a muscle car race against reasonably competent players, I'm not talking about just, you know, random lobbies where people are terrible. If you want to be racing at the top level, you have to use a Sabre Turbo Custom. There aren't any other alternatives. There's just nothing, and it's a lot easier to drive as well, so that rewarding aspect that the Dominator gave you for learning it and being quick with it is gone as well. It on so many levels, it's such a shame. Now, the interesting aspect about the Sabre Turbo Custom is that there is a little bit of a glitch that you can do with the hydraulics. People are calling it the wiggle boost. I think it was Sugar Free Nos that initially called it that. I'll try to put some videos on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about, where basically you can get a much higher top speed. Now, you could probably do this in a race as well, which, you know, it's stupid, and this is why I don't like the Lowriders in general, because the hydraulics have caused more issues than the enjoyment that I've certainly had out of them. You know, the hydraulics are causing all sorts of issues when it comes to the Slam Van Custom that we saw recently as well. Whether it's just that, again, Rockstar aren't paying attention and just don't care enough, or you know, they just don't have the top people working on it, so these issues crop up. But as we saw with the Slam Van Custom, there was a way to fiddle with the hydraulics to make it really quick in a straight line, until that was then patched. And I wonder if the same sort of thing will happen with the Sabre Turbo, whether this sort of wiggle boost, this hydraulic glitch that you can do, will be patched as well. But if you're basically, you know, wiggling it from side to side with the hydraulics, will make it go insanely quick in a straight line, so even quicker than the top speed that I showed in the top speed testing video. But obviously I never do these sort of these glitches or anything with my testing. I always try to do it as cleanly as possible. So I don't know whether that's going to be patched. It probably will be, because we've seen the same sort of thing with the with the Slam Van Custom as well, and the Banshee 900R was changed afterwards as well. We'll probably see a patch for this where it won't be quite as effective or won't work anymore. But the interesting thing that I want to talk about with this is not, I mean, that basically just makes it even more OP than what it already is, by the way. So, you know, no real change there, it just makes it even worse. But the interesting thing that I want to talk about is the fact that when you actually look at the game code, the Sabre Turbo Custom shouldn't really be as quick as what it is. When you look at the drag coefficient of it, the top speed, the traction stats of it, the generally, when you look at the code, it looks to be on the same sort of level as the Dominator. And to me, based on the aspects of the game code, it shouldn't, by everything that we know about it, it shouldn't have a higher top speed than the Dominator either. It's got a higher drag coefficient, very slightly less power as well, and a lower maximum velocity value. So from everything that we know about it, it shouldn't be as quick as what it is in a straight line. And if it didn't have that top speed advantage, it would probably be well balanced with the other muscle cars. So is this a case of the hydraulics causing an issue, even just without faffing about with them, without doing any kind of wiggle with the hydraulics, or having any kind of change with them? Could it be a similar aspect to the way that the Banshee 900R was fixed? That slight boosts of performance are being put into the Sabre Turbo Custom without any input from us. We don't know, that again, this is why I don't really like the hydraulics on the Lowriders on very quick vehicles, because it adds that level of uncertainty and variability to performance beyond just what is programmed. And if we see a patch to this wiggle boost, we may end up seeing that the top speed of the Sabre Turbo is brought down a little bit as a natural consequence of that. We're not sure, I just don't know how it's going to go, and that in that variability and insecurity about what's going to happen with these cars is what's turning me off from the game as well, because you just never know. I can't put out a video these days. It seems like I can't put out a video showing some testing and expect it to be the case and always be the case, because we've had so many different changes of performance, because they keep making so many different mistakes with these cars. So I don't know, that the Sabre Turbo Custom may get a patch to fix this wiggle boost, and it may actually bring their top speed down under normal circumstances. It's very possible, and it may end up being on the pace of the top muscle cars. I'll obviously keep you guys informed about that, because by everything that I can see and everything that we know about the game, the Sabre Turbo Custom, based on the game code alone, shouldn't really be as quick as what it is, and that's all I can really say about it. So at the moment, it is completely dominant. It's quicker in a straight line than the Dominator. It's quicker around a track than every other muscle car in the game. And yeah, it's just a shame. I know you guys were probably expecting a ranting video where I'm really going mad and getting annoyed, but I just don't care anymore. I just do not care. Rockstar have made it so that they've given me nothing to care about. They've systematically ruined all of the classes. They've systematically ruined the things that we love. They've been very unoriginal by rehashing old vehicles. Don't get me wrong, I love the idea of Lowriders on some of the slower cars that we've seen before. I love the idea of the stuff that we saw with the Banshee and the Sultan RS. It would be nice if they were on the pace, of course, and in the right class, but that's the previous analysis video entirely. I love the idea of having yachts, but it just feels like these things are put in the game for a quick cash grab and then forgotten about. We've seen no race modifications to any other vehicles. We get lowrider modifications to vehicles that to me make no sense. We still get the classes ruined with wrong car choices in various classes. We don't see any improvements to the game for class systems or performance modifications or improvements to yachts, for example, because they've already made their money from just introducing the vehicles, and they know exactly what they're doing. That's why they release these vehicles one at a time. That's why they are rehashing old vehicles and making multiple different variations of them, because they know that that's what will ultimately bring in the money and bring in the shark card sales. They know that the game is probably nearing the end of its life, apart from the sort of the diehards who will continue playing it. So they're trying to eke out as much money from it as they possibly can, whilst there's still a player base to do that. And I just have no time for it. So yeah, it's a bit sad, really. It's a bit sad that this is the state that GTA is in. But you may disagree with me. Obviously, it's just my opinion. For me, personally, I'm going to still test any vehicles when they come out. I'm going to get some fun out of the game when and where I can. But I'm not going to be taking it seriously. I'm not going to be investing any money or real time into it. And I for a long time now, I just haven't been playing it in my spare time, because I just don't have any interest in what the game has become. So yeah, that's my analysis video, and really it's just it's kind of a sad note, and it's been getting like this. When you look back through the discussion series, you probably see a trend where it's getting like this, and I think the last analysis video kind of was leading into this really, and I was a little bit mad because I still did care a little bit about the game, but now I just don't see the point in bothering to care. So yeah, hey, it is what it is. Let me know your thoughts down below. I really would like to know your thoughts. You know, if you want to post a long rant yourself in the comments, feel free to do that. I read all the comments. I don't necessarily respond to everything, but I definitely read them all. And it would be interesting to hear the thoughts of you guys. You know, what do you think about the current state of the game and the things that I've talked about? Am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know. I'm open to thinking different things, but those are just my thoughts, and that's what this discussion series is all about. So thank you guys for watching. You know, I really do appreciate all the support, as always. I just appreciate you guys being here and continuing to watch my stuff, and hopefully I'll still be able to continue making good videos that aren't so reliant on car performance in GTA, because I don't really care about that anymore. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.